We love you, Lindo. I love you. I'm just being an ass today.
All right, Kale.
Just
I love
today?
you too.
Well, today,
Just
other days.
today.
Most days.
Just today.
But not usually to Lindo. It's usually to Sam, but Sam's been getting real sensitive lately.
Aw.
is.
He has been.
What's he nervous about?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what happens when you move in with your girlfriend.
That is true. That is true. He was so worried about that. They seem to be quite happy. Maybe
They'll be good. They'll be good. He's probably just, it's all the programming stuff that keeps popping up and changing in the code that's got him going.
I know. He's been mad about that for months.
Yeah, no. Hey.
I finally told him to come to me when it's done.
When it's exactly.
Like, don't tell me, hey, I think it's going to be done. Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to believe you.
When you know 100%.
When it is 100% finished, come to me.
Yeah.
And then I'll log in and look at it. I'm not even looking at it. Treating it like we don't have it.
That's the way you need to be. Yeah, don't come to me and give me false hope.
Yeah.
Get me excited. Which is what I think we're going to talk about today in the episode is having a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plans are good.
Yeah, well, hey, welcome to the Vetted Podcast. I'm Steve Hermann.
I'm Kale Flaspohler.
I'm Lindo Zwane.
Okay, you can unplug your microphone now. Hey, we can't be more excited than to sit here and talk veterinary business ownership. Can we reverse that one? Cut that one. Cut that one. Hey, we couldn't be more excited to be able to talk about independent veterinary practices and the things they need to do to be successful. Education, advocation, inspiration. So, hey, we are on YouTube. We are on social media. We are on all the podcast channels that are out there. So please like and subscribe and give us feedback. Things you'd like to see talked about. We're happy to dive into topics that are unique, different, and informational. So we've been in the convention, scene all year long. It's been busy, a lot going on, got more conventions to go. And we just came off one this past weekend. And I thought, as Kale and I were reflecting on as we were at the booth, there's not really like a convention success guidebook out there. So we wanted to do this one as how to navigate your next convention successfully. So that was that's the title we're giving that. And Kale, you had a great comment on how to start this thing off with, it's pretty obvious what it takes to be successful at something is a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we go to the convention a lot of times. We're busy. We haven't taken the time to see who's speaking too much or what I want to see. It gets behind you. Some people do, but a great part. Talk about how you think you ought to approach the convention before you even get there.
Yeah, I see and hear a lot of times when people are coming by our booth or whatever, it's like, this is overwhelming. I don't know what I'm going to take away from this, or I've got so many notes and all these other things. And when you walk in the door of these places, they're huge and they have so much to offer and they have so many things that are bright and flashy and they want your attention, and it is overwhelming. And so I equate it a lot of times to just oh
God.
I equate that a lot of times to going shopping because it is I'm just gonna wait.
Just keep going. I'm just trying to test you here. I drop papers all. Usually we have iPads, but I thought we'd try papers today. We won't try that next time. Sorry, everybody.
I equate that to going shopping because the same thing happens when you go to the store without a shopping list. You walk in and you're like, that looks good. I'm going to try that. That looks great. I haven't tried that before. And then all of a sudden you've got a cart full of a bunch of crap that you don't need and you spend way more money than you're supposed to have. And it's just not a successful trip.
You went to the grocery store hungry?
Yeah, you go to the grocery store hungry and without a list. Even worse. And so, I think you should equate that to going to these conventions, especially if you're going to go to multiple or some of the big ones where there's a lot to see. You can go online. All the websites have who's going to be there. What are the companies that I want to see? They have their CE sessions listed out. And just because they're happening doesn't mean you have to go to them all or you have to see all the booths or whatever. I think it's important to say, these are things that I know I'm struggling with, that I have an opportunity with. These are companies that I would like to have a relationship with, and go into that with a plan and say, I'm going to do these things that morning and actually schedule out your trip instead of just letting your trip happen to you. Because if you actually plan that out, you're going to have a much more successful time than if you just walk in the store and start tossing stuff in your cart.
Yeah,
it's like drinking from a fire hose. It
is. Well, I think it's also question is, do you have a plan for where you want to be at in your business? And so what's going to help add on to that? And I think you think about it that way with whether it's, something surgery-wise you want to add or get better at, or on the business side of things, optimization of social media, or marketing, or those kinds of things. What is it that you are thinking about for your business that should help with fun for the staff and add profit? Some qualifiers for you before you get there, and don't just pull ideas out of the air when you see something that you said, it's like, I'm hungry, that looks really good, I'm gonna grab it, and you get home with a bunch of stuff and you're like,
I'm not going to eat that.
everybody can relate to that.
Yeah.
You go to the grocery store. Now, when I was a grocer, I'd say go to the grocery store hungry, but
Of course.
but as not a grocer, I try to make sure I eat before I go to the grocery store. Otherwise, I'm like, I am grabbing way too much stuff because it looks really good. Mm-hmm. I'm ready. And you come home with $100 extra stuff. Like, what do I do with this now? Even when I have a list. As Lauren's got the list, I'm hungry. So
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You're a P.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, hey, I think that as we look at, that's so important coming into the convention to have that. But let's start backwards. Meaning that we're post convention now, and so we'll work post convention. And Kale, you talk about when people are at the convention, you do try to help them for success. You talk about the 72-hour rule, and that's a great thing to say. And I think some people shake their heads at us and are like, give us thumbs up. And let's dive into what that really means. The 72-hour rule.
Yeah, so the 72-hour rule just solely means if you want to actually take action on something successfully that you learn at a convention, you have to act on it within 72 hours of leaving the convention and getting home. And so when I see these people walk through with a list of notes, notebooks full of notes, it's like it's not going to happen.
Right.
You've got too much on that paper to actually implement successfully. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to go in a cabinet. You're not going to look at it again. At least I would do it that way.
Right.
I imagine that's what happens with most people. So I think it's important to tackle a couple things and say these things, if from the standpoint of a business owner, what's actually going to add profit to my clinic? Mm-hmm. And so, if you have two ideas, like circle them, star them, underline them, make them the first priority Monday morning, probably block off your Monday morning so you can actually digest what you did and what you thought about, and carry that momentum into the week, and grab somebody maybe that can do it for you, or they can help you along the way, that say, hey, these are the two things that I want to do because I think they're going to benefit our clinic in a really positive way. And that's how I would tackle the rule of 72.
Yeah, no, and I think that, so when I hear someone say the rule of 72 and the written initially, or 72 hours, sorry, the rule of 72 is an investment.
I was about to say that.
72-hour rule, let me say that right. The 72-hour rule, it's amazing how they both work.
It is similar.
It's hard to say. It's the 72-hour rule. Gets me thinking urgency, though. And it doesn't mean when we say take action on it, it means there's some important steps you should do along that in that 72 hours. Not you have to solve it or anything, but it's more to start going, answer, will it add profit? And if it will, and you feel good about it, then start laying out the game plan. Start planning out like, okay, step one. That's a key thing, because you don't have to solve it within 72 hours. You don't have to implement it within 72 hours. I think that's a misconception sometimes. Some people are like, oh, I got to get back in and do this in 72 hours. Well, if you do that, I think one, you might actually have fear of it and not start it, or two, if you do start it, you're going to miss something, and you probably you got to get buy-in from your staff. That's probably one of the most important things in that 72-hour period, is come back and figure out if it adds profit. All right, how am I going to get buy-in from my staff on this, and then start the strategy and plan of action to include the staff in with it. So, I think that. I wonder. We should do some research as I say this. Like, are there any notebooks out there like? You don't see that convention. I think a convention would hand out like, here's how you have success at the convention.
Yeah.
And here's how you write these things down, next steps, all that, and can't wait to see you next year kind of deal, or whatever that is. Or come back next year with telling what you did, success-wise at the convention. So no, I want to go back to that 72 hours. To me, the way I originally looked at it, and I'm like, I got to get this done in 72 hours. Nope. Take a step back. Identify what it is you're doing, and then start the game planning on it. And that 72 hours probably going to turn into, 72 days or more, right?
Weeks.
Or hopefully not weeks. It could, I guess, right? If you're thinking about building.
Yeah, if you're thinking about building.
Yeah, you talked to John Hooker.
Yeah.
and thought about building. Yeah, that could be a possibility. So, no, I think that's real important to have that plan in place of what you're doing. So, key things to that is we talked about. All right, so let's take a breakdown of this. 72 hours. You said it. Identify just a couple things. You can't do, and that's everything. You can't do 5, 6, 7 things. It's like 2, 3 things. Identify that. If you got 5, 6 things on your 72-hour rule, maybe your plan is, I'm going to look at that in 3 months or 6 months. You can put that on the calendar, take a look at those ideas and see if they still feel right. Other thing to do is to look at it and go, all right, what do I want to take action on right away too? Because the good question is this something that I'd want to do right now? If it's not something you want to do right now, then definitely.
Do I have the capacity right now to do it successfully?
Yeah, exactly. So looking at that thing, capacity, and as we go through that, doing those things, I think a big part about it, who's going to help you stay accountable to that? Accountability matters, because if you keep that siloed in your own spot and don't talk about it to anybody, it's probably not going to happen. You need to share that with somebody. Maybe it's a peer of yours, that another business owner, or if you've got a coach, someone you're working with advisor-wise, share it with them to help you achieve those goals along the way. They may not be experts in if it's a surgery, obviously some advisors that are in the business side, but hey, helping you along the way to make sure that happens. How many of these do you need to do to make that profitable? Those kinds of things. Lining out numbers. So yeah, it's the thing. I hope that as we are off this convention, 24 hours off of that one, that people are thinking along those lines to do that. So anything else you add on the 72-hour rule?
No, I like it.
And yeah, I already, messed up my papers here and got them out of order, man. Well, hey, as we're walking backwards through here, as we're trying to get to that 72-hour rule, there's a lot of products out there, new products, old products. And so I think the question is how do you know that it's a good product? Because there's a lot of great salespeople. I mean, and veterinarians they're very good, kind-hearted, trusting people, and have a hard time saying no to some new products like that. So I think as we look through that, what would you say if Kale, if you're looking at a product, what's going to be your litmus test to go? I'm going to continue the conversation, and 2, I'm going to take this seriously. Maybe do something with it.
Number 1, do I like the person?
Yeah,
that is it. And it could be, I guess, if I approach somebody at a booth, do I see myself working with this person? Do I trust them? Do I think that they have my best interest in mind? And it's a feel thing for me personally, and that's just kind of how I go about things. Is do I feel like this person I can get along? However, if you're not, there are a lot of ways to vet a specific product. If you're really interested in something, the first thing I would ask for is referrals, because they should be able to give you a laundry list of people to call and say, hey, these people can tell you about their experience with our company. And, you call them, let us know what you think or whatever. If they say something bad, they're going to be honest with you. Yeah. And so, that's the first thing I would do. And if they don't have that list, or I would think seriously about using them. Yeah. Because that's just something that I would do. I want to talk to somebody that's used the product specifically.
Think about a guarantee too, right? It's like, what kind of guarantees do you have on this product or service? Either way, to say that if the person really believes in that, they're going to be able to guarantee it in one way or another, and assure that you're willing to take the leap to get into that product. Because even though you have the referrals, those things, which are, I think they're most important, is trust from hopefully it's someone you might actually know or be connected to, right? Because that's when you know somebody, that's the big part of it that goes a long way. But yeah, guarantees, those types of things are important. Of course, in the medical field, I mean, there's a lot that goes into the medicine side of things. I don't want to speak too much on the advocacy for medicine, because that's what doctors are trained for. We're more talking about business products, things of that nature. But if you do have something new on the market, I think that prescription medicine, those kinds of things, that takes a real high scrutiny. Fair and what's good. But if you got someone pitching you a better way, like I see things out there. I'll talk about they say no credit card fees. And what they're doing is that's not true. There's no such thing as zero credit card fees to a business, period. Walmart hasn't solved that. Walmart at one point tried to kick out American Express because of their fees. You can use an American Express at Walmart still. You're not going to win that battle. What they're doing is slapping it onto the customer. But that's not what they pitch you on, like 0%. So they drag you in. And I've seen they try to get us to market their product, and there's no way, because it's that deceitful marketing. If they can't tell you up front what they're doing, then that's not a good thing. They're hiding behind behind something. Other thing too, I think to do is to ask about their competition. Tell me about your competition. If they don't know about their competition, they haven't done their market research. That's a big deal to know who's out there, what they're doing, and understanding that. So that's another thing to do. And because just like with what we do, there's other people that that do similar things. Not everything we do, but do some similar things, and it's like find the right fit. Mm-hmm. So you got to make sure that fits in that direction. So yeah, because you're walking around that convention hall, and depending on the size of it, from huge national convention to regional conventions to state conventions that are all different sizes and a lot going on. So I think that's an interesting thing to look at. Well, what else, Kale, you thought about as we discuss? You got to have a good product. The worst thing you do is spend time, get a bad product. You paid for it, or service or whatever it is, you get no return. Mm-hmm. Time's valuable.
Absolutely. I was going to ask the question. Say I go to a conference, I listen to a speaker, and I think they have a great product or service. And how do I know that person's not full of shit?
Well, I think that, again, it's into researching that person. A lot of times it's a product salesperson. Like taking the financial industry, for instance. You got a lot of people in the space that are financial advisors for a brokerage like, say, Prudential or, any of those big insurance companies or Edward Jones, any of those things that are brokerages. Literally, they have products to sell. And if that is their business, they cannot perform on this other thing over here. It's, again, that cloak thing. It's that 0% credit card situation again. So it's understanding that side of it. I think they have their bet. I think they really are trying to do some, best things for people. And so I'm not knocking any of them. It's a different approach to doing things, but I think that's a real big sniff test, is to be like, what are you doing here? Or is it truly educational, actually, what you need to see? And I think people can usually feel like it's like they don't have a pitch for their product in it. If they have a pitch for their product right at the end, they're like, for $10,000 or $2,000, you get this package. We don't do that in our talks. We don't, when we have talks, they're educational. It's like, if you want to learn more about our services, come see us, have a deeper discussion on that side. Versus, you see that, we had a client of ours that, it was great. We were walking out. She raised her hand, make sure we saw her, gave her a big old hug, had a good conversation. And she said, one of the best parts of this is I can tell people I have people for this. So you need to have a trusted group of people that say, I know about that product, and then she showed me that, or it's going, yeah, they are literally pitching their product at the end of this. That whole thing was a product pitch. And so, while it all seems flashy and my accountant's not talking about those things, well, or whatever that is, you're like, your accountant is talking about those things. You just don't remember them talking about that manner. So getting into understanding that speaker and what they're doing, or, talking to Dr. Peter Weinstein. He was there this week, and he says, I'm educational. I don't have a product to sell. I'm here to help, the next one. So understanding that that's his MO and what he wants to do is a big deal. We need speakers, we need things, but walk away with, what's the motive here?
And if people are willing to teach first, that says a lot about the character of themselves and the company as well.
Right.
If they're willing to give what they've learned for free, that's a big deal. You shouldn't sneeze at that.
No, not at all. There's a lot of that goes on, but it only takes a few bad apples.
That's true.
At the end of the day, to ruin the bushel. Is that something like?
A few bad apples ruin the bushel?
Yeah, is that?
It may not be, but I'm totally cool to use it.
You like that?
I like that, yeah.
So I think that's what we're looking at, is to try to say, and it's going to happen. And I'm by no means here to judge anybody, because I think people do have good intention. They're trying to help people out, but sometimes it's not the right advice. Mm-hmm. Because to know someone's goals and plans takes more than just a talk, for sure. So having people to work with on that is a big deal. So determine if a vendor has a good product or service, the credibility of speakers at the convention as you dive into that. And credibility of speaker comes down into reputation, though. Mm-hmm. Reputation does precede you. It'll follow you around. You'll get wind of what's happening and
so just because I saw the speaker at this big conference that I was at doesn't mean that they're good.
I think it'd be interesting to ask the speaker, did you pay to speak? Actually. Did you pay to speak? Or are you here, because you were asked to speak and you're giving of your time, not your money to be here? Because that happens too. So I'd be interested. I think it's a good qualifier maybe sometimes, like, did you pay you pay to be here.
Yeah.
So, and that may not be the worst thing, but it's kind of like, I think it's like those check boxes, right? If you start checking all these off, because maybe we might pay sometime to sponsor something to speak somewhere, right? Because we think it's important to get the word out, but we're not product pitching. But if you're product pitching and paid to be there, that might be like, oh, we're starting to get too many strikes on that qualification.
The thing that I don't like about some talks too is fear. If the whole thing is based around fear, it feels dirty to me.
Yeah.
And not that there aren't certain things that we might talk about that, hey, this is something that's going on that's not great, but it's not like everything about it is doom and gloom and fear because you're doing it wrong and you're going to be you know, sued or whatever it is that's happening because of this situation that I can solve for you.
Yeah.
That's just some of those sales approaches I've seen in the past, and they just feel they don't sit well with me.
Fear is a great is the ultimate motivator.
It is.
But yeah, it's like, how can we use a different motivator of opportunity and possibility? I think just as powerful. Let's head that route. So yeah, exactly right. Fearful or the persistent bugging to where they won't leave you alone once they get a hold of you.
Yeah,
you can tell on that side. So no, that's a huge important things because we see that with our clients that they come back with some stuff and you're just like, everyone, thank you for bringing it to us, and sometimes it's really good. Like, yeah, go do that. Let's explore that together and figure out how that can not only help you but other people in the industry. Let's get the word out. That's what we want to do. And we had a person next to us that I'm excited, small business owner, has a neat product that we're gonna examine together, figure out if that's something right for our clients. But you could tell from the person they really care, and so I look forward to examining that. So really, it's can some other people in that convention, do they know those people? Are they connected? Yeah, they're good people. So we get that between our strategic partners of the convention, John Hooker, Bank of America, IDEX. BI, people are there, even AVMA Life, the people are there. It's yeah, you can trust these people. That's a big deal. There's a way to know they're connected. So yeah, great question. I think that as you break down, we can break down though, Kale, is we do have a financial advising and planning division that is a fiduciary division that we are. There's not commission, there's not brokerage, it's not those things. I think what's important is to understand what a fiduciary is, and it's kind of a little complicated out there in the world because you can have a fiduciary registration, but you can you can still be under a brokerage. So it's really understanding what those things are important. So if someone's selling commissionable products. Permanent life insurance, whole life insurance, which...
Let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
Fiduciary simply means...
Yeah, you want to get in the definition?
Yeah, let's say what that is. So a fiduciary actually means that we're fiduciaries.
Right.
We legally have to act in the best interest of the client.
Yes. Yeah, so it says the definition is a person or entity that acts on behalf of another person or entity putting their client's interests ahead of their own when a duty to preserve good faith and trust. With a duty to preserve good faith and trust. Yeah. So, no, thanks for jumping into that because that's important to start with the definition on that side of things. But as we get down into what I said too is entity. It's not only just that individual person. As the question is that entity as a whole. The parent company, is it a fiduciary, or is it just a subsidiary of the company has a fiduciary arm over here? And it's kind of interesting the way it's a little convoluted. So, fiduciary can be used as a marketing tool. Or is it really being used to its definition? And that's an important part inside a financial part. And really, if you think about a fiduciary, it's someone who can also bring you any product. It's someone who's not just beholden, I can only bring you X product because that's who I work for. It's one that can bring you any financial product out there in the world that would best suit your needs. And then follow those things. So I think that's a big deal. It's cross fiduciary, really think about that. It should be the way everybody acts.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be.
We shouldn't have to be legally bound to that. We should just act that way because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And especially in a situation as small as the veterinary industry, if you're not a fiduciary and you're serving a space like that, you're not going to be around very long.
Right. No, absolutely. So that's a big deal. There's a lot of, as you know, people enter the space from that side and cloak themselves in names that also sound like that they're giving that side, but you look down into it and it's like, It's what that individual came up to me and said. I've been told they're going to give me business strategies and business plans and business hopes, and it ends up being a whole life insurance policy. And so how do you avoid that? And again, I think those people that are doing that think they're doing the right thing. Don't want to knock them. They just haven't had awareness yet about what's out there and what needs to happen. And it's 21st century stuff. That was 20th century planning. Now we're well into the 21st century, and over a quarter of the way into it.
We're a quarter of the way into it. So we need to be thinking.
Scary. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty cool. It's on my route to another century. Got to get through 3 of them. Just lived through 3 centuries. No big deal, right? I don't think we can overemphasize those. As I want to go back to referrals, because let's say that all right, or we walked backwards through this thing. Talking about 72-hour rule after the convention. You take what you learn. What are you going to do with it? We've walked the convention floor, and you have a plan on that. Who you want to see, what you want to do, make sure it's the right places, and then speakers too in between. What's happened there? But I think one of the highlights, the big is referrals. Is at the end of the day, it's who are people that have used that service or product that that and you don't have to you don't even say the person doesn't have a list, or maybe they don't, because that's like sometimes they won't. They'll be like, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm. Or they say sometimes people feel like I don't want to put my clients in that position to get a phone call. So I don't want to just dwell on that. But if we look at it from the standpoint of in your groups online, social media groups, that all the DVM groups are out there, go on there. Mm-hmm. Who's used this? And talk to me about it. And find it that way. So really do your homework on those things. I think that should be part of the 72-hour rule, right?
Softwares too will a lot of times give you a free trial or a sandbox to go play in.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I still think you should go ask other people, because you're not going to mess around in it long enough to find out like what's wrong with it.
Right.
But that is a good gesture, good faith. Say, hey, here's a free month. Try it. See if you like it.
Yeah.
If not,
absolutely. I think software should do that.
Yeah, they should do that. Yeah. But I do think it's still important that you go reach out to somebody in your groups and say, hey, who's used this product before? Who's used this software? I'm thinking about using it.
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you not like?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yep. Hey, I do want to, it's interesting to bring up software, and important thing about software, whose information in the database is it? Is it yours? Do you have free access to it? Because there's a lot of softwares out there that only way you get access to is by printing a report. You literally can't go into the database and get your information out. It's locked. And so what happens when you go to transfer it to another company, they charge you thousands of dollars on one end to get that information out, and the other one's got $1,000 to convert it into that system. So I think there's some important things let's suppose, here's a great question. I've used your product for a year. I'm not happy. Tell me about the costs involved with moving to another solution. That'd be a great question to ask somebody in there and see what they say. And get the fine print out. It might cost you $20,000 to leave. Mm-hmm. And like the other software company is giving you a good deal over here, but it's going to cost you $20,000 to exit and leave. That's a pretty big deal. What will it cost me to leave? And I think if we think our standpoint, it's like if someone isn't happy with what we're doing, we're not going to charge them to leave.
No,
we're going to help them get to the next spot, and hopefully keep the friendship open. That whatever happened for you to move. It happens, right? But maybe one day ago, those guys are pretty good. I come back to them. Mm-hmm. Keep the door, be friendly. So that's an important part of making decisions. But yeah, conventions are great. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the convention we were at this weekend. We had good connections. It was regional, so our clients were there. We've been to some national conventions that are great, good exposure. But you do see some people, but not as many, right? And we enjoy that hometown feel of what it was, convention wise, and good to go to. But just coming off that, I think that we had some eye openers on, because our clients were there, and it wasn't our Missouri Veterinary Medical Association that we've always been at. It was a bigger regional convention, and made us think a little differently about how to approach those things and how they work, and support them. Make sure that people get out, collaborate, and learn to have success, because that's important. You can't to sit behind the desk and do webinars and Zooms. You need to get out and see people.
Absolutely.
And we're coming off COVID. Still, people forget about that. We had COVID. We've had 2 years of conventions now, post-COVID. Mm-hmm. I think we're still trying to figure that out.
I even had that conversation with somebody this past weekend.
Yeah.
They said, how does this compare to last year? And I said, well, we had a time where there weren't conventions, and before was its own thing.
Yeah.
Now we had COVID, and now we have this new thing. It's probably not going to be like it was before, but it's going to be its own version of whatever moving forward looks like off of this.
Yes.
And so comparing it to then just probably isn't fair.
No. Well, you're going to have, I think, and I don't even know if we see the complete effects of it, because you've got a subset of, a 4-year generation, or 4 years inside that Generation Z that is going to do things differently. Mm-hmm. They're just going to do things differently, and that's going to translate into that. So you might see in 2028 or 2030, you better do things quite a bit differently. Still, how do you get them involved? How do you make it experiential and not so just hand out different things? It's got to be experience based. Mm-hmm. And so, which is what we saw. Interesting. You see that in, we were in downtown Kansas City on the plaza. My son had to go to the Apple store and fix his computer. So we're down there and asked him how the plaza's doing. And one person's like, they're shutting things down. The next person's like, they got a great idea for experiential. They're going to shut the streets down, do this differently. So the old company was like not doing it right. They got a new company in, new game plan. And so there's opportunity with these conventions. They just got to hit them right. So I'm excited to be a part of that moving forward on the conventions, get advice, and see those develop and grow. They're going to be there. Some are going to go away. But the ones that get it figured out are going to do it right. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see that happen. So, hey, it was great to be at that convention. We'll be at Iowa Veterinary Medical Association convention at the end of September. You and I are going to be there. Looking forward to that one and seeing the people in Iowa. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, hey, find a convention to go to, and whatever works in your budget. But one thing I do want to say, don't make that your vacation. We see too many people that wrap a vacation into a convention. And I really advise against that. I think because, if you bring your family down there and you're at the convention, they're doing something else over here. It tends not to be a huge, vacation deal. Mm-hmm. Go down there for your thing. You need to get away. You need to be also focused, because if you're trying to mix vacation and this learning experience, growing, building, you got to ask yourself, am I here just to check the boxes and go on with CE or whatever that is? And maybe that's what you're doing. But if you're really wanting to learn and grow and be a better version of yourself, you should just go down there yourself or bring a colleague or two with you, right? And maybe they can go learn some other things, because that's might be a way to tackle it too. I'll take a third, you take a third, you take a third, right? And let's come back together and discuss what we learned, what's exciting, and go from there. So definitely hit conventions. Have a
plan.
Execute the plan. Keep planning. Plan some more. No.
Have your shopping list.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. All Kenny's I get back to. Yeah, it's Kale. When we were setting up for this meeting, had some ideas here to go, and you just said it's having a plan. It's comparing to grocery store. It's a great way to put it. If you don't have your list of what produce you need, what meat you need, and the other stuff you need, what kind of meal are you going to come out of there with? Yeah. That's why you went to the grocery store, to get meals and snacks to sustain your
You're going to come out with a hell of a lot more snacks than you are meals.
Yeah, you're going to come back. I got mac and cheese and tomatoes and
all these super cool muffins.
Yeah. Oreos. Yeah. So no, that's a great, I think, convention. One of the best advice probably given was you today, Kale, was the think about it from the grocery store part. Go in there, have your meals planned, what you want to do, and when you get done, there's a 72-hour rule too, because you got like 72 hours to cook some of that stuff with fresh food. Yeah. So you better cook that and use it and enjoy it, and then keep going on and doing that. Well, anything else? Words of wisdom, because you're the smart guy in the room.
I mean, I think I already shared it. I don't have anything else to say.
Just it?
That's it.
Keep it simple. So great. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in today to the Vetted Podcast, talking about how to make your next convention successful. And so, grocery cart. Hey, we'll put these ideas online. If you're interested in getting a copy of the ideas, please go online and put your email in, and we'll send you the PDF of the talking points today. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Peace and blessings.
Oh, Lindo put the microphone down.
Oh, we kind of told him to do that.
Yeah.
I told him to do that.
He's smiling right now.